Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of radical new idea in artificial intelligence called Project OOLM. And it all starts by asking a question about the AI we chat with every single day.
So think about it. When you're talking to a chatbot, is it actually understanding you? Or is it just an unbelievably sophisticated mimic, a pattern matcher that's just predicting the next most likely word without any real concept of the world? Well, the work we're digging into today suggests there might be a totally different way forward.
You see, the big issue with a lot of today's most powerful models is what some people are calling the parrot problem. They can repeat our language back to us beautifully, flawlessly even, but they don't get the meaning behind the words. And that leads to some pretty serious, fundamental limitations.
And this, right here, this is the core of it. Current large language models are essentially world simulators. They create this incredible statistical echo of all the text they've ever seen. But this new idea, the OOLM, it's a world modeler. It doesn't just copy our words, it actually tries to build a logical, working model of reality itself. A huge difference.
Yeah, and that whole world simulator thing, that's the root cause of all those classic AI headaches we've heard about. Because they don't really reason, you get those bizarre hallucinations where they just make stuff up. You can't ask them why they gave you an answer, because they don't know. Plus, they're incredibly expensive to train and, get this, their knowledge is basically frozen in time the second that training stops.
Okay, so what's the alternative? Well, the OOLM framework just flips the whole script. The idea is model reality first, and then genuine language understanding will naturally follow. It's about building a foundation for a totally different kind of intelligence.
So what in the world is an object-oriented LLM? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a giant digital box of Legos. Every single concept, a person, a car, even an idea like love or gravity is a unique block. And each of these blocks has its own properties and rules about how it can connect with all the other blocks. What you end up with is this dynamic, logical, and constantly evolving map of reality.
So how does an AI like this actually process new information? It uses this three-layer approach. It starts with plain old knowledge. This is just the raw data, what happened. Then it applies a layer called physics. And this is a really broad term here. It doesn't just mean E equals MC squared. It means all the rules of reality. Sure, physics, but also logic, sociology, psychology. This layer figures out the how and why it happened. And finally, it pulls all of that together into abstract concepts. That's where the real understanding happens. All right, so this brings us to the core mechanism, the logic engine. How does this thing actually reason? How does it decide if something makes sense or if it's just nonsense? This is where it gets really, really clever. Okay, let's take a look at this test sentence from the research. Grammatically, it's perfect, but something just feels off, right? Alice is 100 years old, Bob is 20 years old, Alice and Bob are married, Alice and Bob go to school every day. You and I know that sounds weird. Let's see what the OLM thinks.
And this is just brilliant. Instead of just checking grammar, which it passes with flying colors, the system checks the sentence against all its different models of reality. So, is it physically possible? Yeah, sure. But look at this. It flags high improbability scores in logic and especially sociology. Because a 100-year-old married to a 20-year-old, both going to school every day, that just doesn't fit a coherent model of how our world works.
The system then averages all those different scores into one single total improbability score. In this case, 0.44. Now, this isn't just a simple true or false. It's a number. It's a measurement of how much this statement clashes with the AI's understanding of reality. It has detected a contradiction.
And this is the most important part. The AI uses that score as a trigger to learn. It's not just flagging an error, it's improving itself. It identifies all the concepts that led to the contradiction, marriage, that specific age gap, going to school, and then it slightly reduces its confidence, what the framework calls information mass, in that specific combination of ideas. It literally learns from the contradiction so it gets smarter for next time.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. A system that's this logical, this rule-based, it must be super rigid, totally uncreative, right? Well, this is where the framework introduces a solution that is just so elegant and honestly, pretty surprising.
It's the big question, isn't it?
If an AI is built on a foundation of strict rules and logic, how on earth could it ever handle things like ambiguity or metaphor or come up with a truly new idea?
The answer, amazingly, comes from jazz theory. I mean, think about it. Jazz is this perfect balance between really strict rules, music theory, scales, rhythm, and this incredible creative freedom of improvisation. The OLLM uses that exact same principle. It has a creative engine that can improvise with new combinations of concepts, but it always does it within the logical structure of its world model. It can jam, but it knows the chords. This whole idea points to something really deep that the framework calls the entropy paradox. From our human point of view, a whole glass sitting on a table is orderly, but to the universe, a shattered glass on the floor is actually a more stable, lower energy state. It's more orderly from a physics perspective. A truly intelligent system has to understand both kinds of order. Its real genius lies in creating meaningful human order and ideas, all while knowing that the universe itself trends toward chaos.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, the logic engine, the jazz-inspired creativity, this really deep, layered understanding of reality, what kind of AI do you actually end up with?
Well, the final comparison is pretty stark. You go from a system that's probabilistic and opaque, a black box that's basically frozen in time, to the complete opposite. The OOLLM framework is aiming for an AI that is deterministic and rule-based, totally transparent in its reasoning, and, this is key, learns continuously from new information.
Ultimately, this quote from the project's own documents really says it all. It's a complete shift in the objective. The goal isn't just to build an AI that can talk like a person, but one that can reason like one, and maybe even more consistently. An AI that we can verify, that's efficient, and that can be genuinely creative.
And that really just leaves us with one final big question. If we could actually move beyond simple mimicry to an AI that's rational, creative, and builds a real working model of our world, what could we build? What problems could we finally solve? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.